Good morning, everyone. Happy Constitution Day. 26th November is celebrated as Constitution Day in India. It was on this day in the year 1949 the Constitution of India was adopted. 26th January 1950 the Constitution came into force, which we celebrate as Republic Day. After India gained independence in the year 1947, there was a need for the constitution. A constituent assembly was elected, formed, which consisted of few eminent personalities like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji, Dr. Pandit Nehru ji, B.N. Rao ji, Sardar Vallabhai Patel ji were few of the eminent personalities. There were many eminent personalities who took up the challenge of framing the constitution. It was a challenge given the conditions prevailing at that time. It was after about 200 years of British rule, India became independent, and there was a requirement for a futuristic, a constitution with a futuristic vision was the need of the hour at that time. So it was a major challenge. They had to consider a lot of things like the partition which was happening, the civilization, the change of a culture, and about 200 years of British rule and its effect. And they had to consider the coming years and the future generations while framing this constitution. So it was a major responsibility. It was a crucial aspect in the Indian polity, which we should actually say. Constitutionally, India is a socialist, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. The Constitution of India guarantees its citizens equality, justice, and liberty. If we're able to actually live peacefully today with harmony, with liberty, it is because of these guarantees provided by the Constitution. We should be thankful to the framers of the Constitution, and we should respect the Constitution because we are actually enjoying the fruits. Um, Constitution basically provide establishes the procedures, the powers, the framework for the governments. Besides, it also stipulates fundamental rights of the citizens, fundamental duties for the citizens, which they can actually take up for their country. See, 1947, when India became independent, when the Constituent Assembly was formed, constitution is basically a result of history. I mean, they had to consider about 2 centuries of history while framing this constitution. Maybe starting from Regulating Act of 1773, where the British Parliament for the first time stepped into the affairs of East India Company, followed by Pitt's India Act 1784, where it separated the commercial and political activities of East India Company. Then there were charter acts like 1813, 1833, 1853 charter acts, followed by the Government of India Act 1858, which is very important, wherein the crown directly stepped into the rule of India, administering the India through the parliament. A secretary of state was appointed to administer the rule in India. It is a major phenomenon in the Indian history. Then we had 1909 Minte Morley reforms, wherein a separate electorate was provided for Muslims. All India Muslim League was established in 1906. Through those pressures, the British actually provided for a separate electorate through Minte Morley reforms in 1909. And in 1909, Indians were given the chance for the first time to be the members of the Viceroy's Council. Then we have Government of India Act 1919, which provided for dual role. Then Government of India Act 1935, which provided for the Federation of India with provinces and three lists, followed by Indian Independence Act 1947. So these are some major incidents in the history through the British rule, which the framers of the constitution had to consider while framing the constitution. um, the Constitution of India also provides for directive principles of state policy. It calls for welfare state. We see welfare activities by the governments today, maybe central or state governments. If you look at the Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, or Aishman Bharat, or Arogya Shri, or pensions for disabled and aged people, it all comes from the directive principles of state policy provided by the Indian Constitution. uh, you know so given the time, given the changes, change is something which is permanent. I mean, nobody can actually stop a change. Things keep changing. If we look at our constitution, we actually have some challenges also which needs to be addressed. Like if you look at Article 200 of the Constitution, which provides for assent of the governor for a bill. When a state assembly passes a bill, the governor has to give his or her assent for the bill. There is no time frame mentioned in the in this article. It says as soon as possible. Sometimes it is being misused. See, nowadays it is time is money. Time is money. When we say money need not be looked at in literal meaning. Time is business. Time is activity. When something is delayed, the actual essence of that particular bill or that particular activity may get affected. And there are some other challenges like privacy, individuals privacy. Do the governments really have to get into the personal details, collecting personal details of all the citizens, to administer and to carry out the welfare activities? Yeah, how is the right to privacy is being looked at? How is the data, private data of individuals is being safeguarded, is something which needs to be looked at. And somehow constitution is silent on political parties. Maybe that's the reason we see an elected representative, public representative, from a political party today. We might see him or her in a different party tomorrow. That's something which needs to be addressed, which needs to be looked at, because in a democracy, when we say people rule the country, for the people, by the people, and to the people, so it is something which needs to be looked at. See, the basic principle of constitution is that the framers of constitution looked at the history of British rule. And if we go beyond that, there was king's rule. There was a lot of monopoly in the British rule, and during the king's rule also there was a lot of centralization of power. See, the same person or the same agency cannot actually frame the law and implement it, and then judge it. That's the reason where the framers of constitution provided for legislative, executive, and judiciary powers, which probably is the major reason for the success of our country, the success of India's independence. If we look at countries which became independent around the same period, they have a lot of issues with law and order, financial issues, and a lot of issues. But India actually is a successful nation, is a successful democratic country because of the Constitution of India. It plays a major role. We have seen how the collegium system of appointment of judges evolved through Supreme Court judgments. to keep judiciary an independent organ, as provided by the constitution. So if we are able to live happily today, if we are able to live with harmony today, it is because of the fraternity principle which our constitution provides for. It's a proud feeling that we have such a good constitution, and we should be thankful to those framers of the constitution. We should be proud as to be lawyers in the future. Happy Lawyers Day once again to everybody. Happy Constitution Day. Thank you.